There is a silent prison that many of us live in every single day, a prison built not from iron bars or concrete walls, but from the invisible chains of our own negative thoughts. These thoughts, though unseen, hold immense power over our lives. They shape the way we see the world, the way we feel about ourselves, and ultimately the path our lives take. Negative thinking is not just a harmless mental habit. It is a force that quietly controls and confines us, stopping us from reaching our true potential. When your mind is filled with doubt, fear, and pessimism, it becomes a cage that limits what you can achieve and who you can become. The tragedy is that many do not even realize they are trapped, because this prison is invisible and the chains feel familiar, like a normal part of existence. Every thought you allow to take root in your mind influences your emotions and your actions. If those thoughts are negative, they create a distorted lens through which you view your circumstances. This distortion colors your perception, turning challenges into insurmountable obstacles and opportunities into threats. The more you focus on what could go wrong, what you lack, or how others might judge you, the stronger those invisible chains become. Slowly, the hope that once burned bright inside begins to fade, replaced by a sense of helplessness and resignation. This is the cost of living trapped in negativity, not just lost dreams, but lost moments of joy, peace, and self-belief. But it is important to recognize that these chains, while strong, are not unbreakable. The very same mind that traps you in negativity holds the key to your freedom. Your thoughts have the power to create or destroy the life you live. They influence your decisions, your habits, and the direction you choose to follow. To be imprisoned by negative thinking is to surrender your most powerful tool, your mind, to fear and limitation. Yet when you learn to control and redirect your thoughts, you reclaim your freedom. You awaken to the realization that you are not a helpless victim, but a master of your mental realm. This awakening begins with awareness. The first step to breaking free is to see the chains for what they really are. Habits of thought, patterns learned and repeated over time, not fixed realities. Negative thoughts may feel automatic, but they are not permanent. They can be challenged, questioned, and replaced. This understanding shifts the power back to you. No longer a prisoner to your inner critic, you become a conscious creator of your mental environment. You realize that your mind is not a battlefield where negativity must win, but a garden where seeds of hope and strength can be planted and nurtured. Living in this silent prison often leads to a life half lived, where potential is stifled and dreams remain just out of reach. But breaking free is not a distant fantasy. It is a choice you make today. It is the decision to no longer accept the limits imposed by negative thinking, to rise above the invisible walls, and to step into a life defined by possibility and courage. As you begin this journey, remember that every step away from negativity is a step toward your true self, a self capable of resilience, growth, and profound transformation. This moment, right now, holds the power to change everything. The chains of negative thought may seem strong, but they are fragile when confronted with determination and clarity. Your mind, once imprisoned, can become your greatest ally. The question is not if you can break free, but when. And the answer is now. Your mind is not just a part of who you are. It is the very foundation upon which your entire life is built. It is the unseen architect that designs the blueprint of your future. Every achievement, every failure, every relationship, and every moment of joy or sorrow begins with a single thought. The power of your mind is immense. It holds the ability to shape your reality in ways both visible and invisible. When you understand this, the true magnitude of your inner world becomes clear. Controlling your thoughts means controlling the very course of your life. The mind is a creative force, constantly generating ideas, beliefs, and emotions that influence your actions. It filters the information you receive and interprets it, through the lens of your dominant thoughts. If your mind is filled with fear, doubt, or negativity, those feelings manifest in your behavior and decisions. Conversely, a mind focused on hope, possibility, and confidence paves the way for growth and success. This dual nature of the mind is what makes mastering your thoughts so critical. The same mental power that can imprison you in negativity can also set you free to reach heights you once thought impossible. Often, we underestimate the potential lying dormant within us because we fail to appreciate the true power of the mind. We allow external circumstances, other people's opinions, and past failures to shape our beliefs about what is possible, but the mind is not a passive receiver of reality, it is an active creator. Your thoughts create the conditions of your life just as surely as a sculptor shapes clay. This means that to transform your life, the transformation must begin in the mind. Change your thinking, and your external world will follow. It is also essential to recognize that your mind operates largely through habits. Just as your body can develop physical habits, your mind forms mental habits, patterns of thought that repeat automatically. Negative thought patterns are often deeply ingrained, developed over years through conditioning and repeated experiences. But because they are habits, they can be changed with conscious effort. By training your mind to focus on positive, empowering thoughts, you begin to rewire those mental pathways. The more you practice this, the stronger the new pathways become, and the more naturally positive thinking will replace negativity. Understanding the power of the mind means embracing responsibility for your own mental state. It is easy to blame external events or other people for how you feel, but true freedom comes when you realize that you have control over your thoughts, regardless of circumstances. You may not always control what happens to you, but you always control how you respond mentally. This is where your true power lies, in the choice of your thoughts, and in your ability to steer your mind away from negativity and toward hope. When you master this, you tap into an incredible reservoir of strength and creativity. Your mind becomes a tool for solving problems rather than a source of stress. It becomes a wellspring of ideas rather than a pit of despair. The power of your mind is a force that can propel you forward even when the road seems impossible. It fuels resilience, courage, and determination. The moment you accept that your mind is the master key to your destiny, you step into a new reality where transformation is not only possible but inevitable. This is why mental mastery is the foundation of all great success and happiness. Those who achieve greatness understand that it begins within. They guard their thoughts, nurture positive beliefs, and refuse to let negativity dictate their future. This mental discipline is not about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It is about choosing which thoughts deserve your energy and attention. It is about becoming the architect of your mind, designing a mental landscape where positivity and possibility thrive. The power your mind holds is not a secret reserved for the few. It is available to everyone at every moment. The challenge lies in awakening to this power and using it deliberately. When you begin to see your mind as the ultimate tool for transformation, you will approach life with a new sense of purpose and confidence. You will know that no matter what obstacles arise, your mind can create the way forward. This is the foundation of breaking free from negativity, recognizing that within your own mind lies the power to transform your life completely. Negative thought patterns are more common than most realize, and yet they often go unnoticed because they become a part of our daily mental landscape. These patterns show up in many forms: doubt, fear, worry, regret, and self-criticism, all quietly shaping the way you perceive yourself and the world around you. Recognizing these patterns is the crucial first step toward breaking free from their grip. Without awareness, these negative thoughts continue to operate in the background, subtly sabotaging your confidence, your choices, and your progress. Doubt is one of the most pervasive negative thoughts, often masquerading as caution or realism. It whispers that you are not good enough, not capable enough, or not deserving of success. This quiet voice chips away at your motivation, convincing you to hold back or give up before you even begin. Fear operates similarly, though it is usually louder and more urgent. It triggers anxiety about failure, rejection, or the unknown, causing hesitation and avoidance. Together, doubt and fear create a toxic mental cocktail that can paralyze even the most talented and determined individuals. Worry and regret are other forms of negative thinking that feed on the mind's tendency to dwell on the past or anxiously predict the future. Worry focuses on what might go wrong, painting bleak scenarios that may never come to pass. Regret clings to past mistakes, dragging your mind backward and preventing you from moving forward with clarity and confidence. These patterns trap you in a loop of unproductive mental energy, where your thoughts cycle endlessly without creating any positive outcome. Perhaps the most destructive form of negativity is self-criticism, the harsh, judgmental voice inside that labels you as inadequate, flawed, or unworthy. This inner critic often arises from years of conditioning, societal expectations, or past disappointment. It undermines your self-esteem and convinces you that you must strive harder to earn acceptance or love. When this critical voice dominates, it becomes nearly impossible to maintain a healthy, positive self-image. It breeds a sense of failure even when you succeed, making satisfaction and peace elusive. What makes these negative patterns so dangerous is how easily they slip into your subconscious mind, becoming automatic responses rather than conscious choices. Over time, they form a self-sabotaging cycle. Negative thoughts lead to negative feelings, which in turn trigger negative behaviors, resulting in outcomes that reinforce the original negative beliefs. This cycle strengthens itself, making it harder and harder to break free. You may find yourself stuck in the same mental loops, repeating old mistakes, or avoiding new challenges out of fear and uncertainty. Yet the good news is that negative thought patterns are not permanent truths. They are learned habits, and like any habit, they can be unlearned. The first step to change is to bring these thoughts into the light of awareness, to catch them as they arise instead of letting them run unchecked. When you begin to observe your mental patterns without judgment, you create space for transformation. You become the conscious observer of your mind, able to choose which thoughts to nourish and which to dismiss. Recognizing negative thought patterns also means understanding their triggers, the situations, people, or emotions that tend to activate these mental habits. Maybe it's stress at work, conflict in relationships, or moments of loneliness that feed negativity. By identifying these triggers, you gain greater control over your reactions. You can prepare yourself to face these moments with awareness, ready to challenge the negative voices instead of being overwhelmed by them. Breaking the grip of negative thinking requires patience and persistence because these patterns have been reinforced over time. It is a process of gradually weakening the old mental pathways and strengthening new ones through consistent effort. Each time you catch a negative thought and replace it with a positive, empowering alternative, you are retraining your brain. This mental discipline builds resilience, allowing you to face life's challenges without falling back into self-defeating thoughts. In essence, the recognition of negative thought patterns is the doorway to freedom. Once you see these patterns clearly, you no longer have to be their victim. You gain the power to disrupt the cycle and create new mental habits that support your growth and success. This awareness sets the stage for deeper transformation, where negativity loses its grip, and your mind begins to align with the life you truly desire. To truly break free from negative thoughts, it is essential to understand what lies at their root. Negative thinking doesn't arise out of nowhere, it grows from deep-seated fears and limiting beliefs that have taken root in the mind over time. Fear is often the foundation, fear of failure, rejection, inadequacy, or the unknown. These fears create walls inside your mind that block you from seeing possibilities and trap you in patterns of avoidance and self-doubt. When fear dominates, it distorts your perception, convincing you that risks are too great and that failure is inevitable. This fear-based thinking becomes a lens through which every challenge appears threatening rather than an opportunity. Alongside fear, limiting beliefs act as invisible barriers that restrict your sense of what is possible. These beliefs are often formed early in life through experiences, social conditioning, or repeated messages from others, messages about your worth, your abilities, or what you should or should not do. For example, you might believe that success is only for certain people, or that you don't deserve happiness or abundance. These beliefs operate below the surface, quietly shaping your thoughts and decisions without your conscious awareness. They become mental rules that govern your life, preventing you from stepping beyond familiar boundaries. Conditioning plays a powerful role in establishing and reinforcing these negative beliefs and fears. From childhood onward, your mind absorbs the attitudes, values, and judgments of those around you, family, teachers, peers, society. If those influences are critical, limiting, or fearful, they become part of your mental programming. Over time, this conditioning solidifies into habits of thought that feel natural and unchangeable. You may find yourself repeating the same negative conclusions and self-defeating narratives without questioning them because they have been etched into your subconscious. As these negative beliefs and fears take hold, they shape your mental habits, automatic thought patterns that trigger emotional responses and behaviors. The mind becomes a conditioned machine, reacting to certain stimuli with negativity because it has learned to do so. This automatic response system creates a mental comfort zone, even if that comfort is painful or limiting, because it is familiar. Changing these deeply ingrained mental habits requires effort, awareness, and a willingness to challenge what has been accepted as truth for so long. The power of the root cause lies in its subtlety. Negative thoughts often feel like unavoidable reactions rather than choices. You might believe that your fears and limiting beliefs are facts, rather than mental constructs. This belief in their reality makes it difficult to break free because you are trying to fight shadows instead of addressing the foundation. To truly transform your thinking, you must dig beneath the surface and confront the root causes, the fears and beliefs that give negative thoughts their power. Once you understand these roots, you gain the ability to question and dismantle them. Fear can be faced and diminished through courage and repeated action. Limiting beliefs can be challenged by exposing their falsehoods and replacing them with empowering truth. For example, a belief that I am not good enough can be replaced with I am capable of growth and deserving of success. This process rewires your mind, shifting it from limitation to possibility. The more you work on these foundations, the less hold negative thoughts will have. It is important to remember that this is not an overnight change, but a gradual evolution of your inner landscape. The roots of negativity run deep, and the soil they grow in must be nurtured differently for new, positive growth to take hold. This requires patience, self-compassion, and persistence. You must tend to your mental garden by planting seeds of positive belief, watering them with focused attention, and removing the weeds of fear and doubt whenever they appear. Ultimately, understanding the root cause of negative thinking empowers you to reclaim control over your mind. It reveals that negativity is not your identity or fate. It is a condition that can be healed and transformed. When you address these deep foundations, you open the door to lasting change, freeing yourself from the mental chains that have held you back. This clarity provides the courage to step forward into a new way of thinking, one that supports your growth, your dreams, and your freedom. Transformation begins with a decision, a bold and conscious choice to no longer be ruled by the negative voice within. This decision is not just a passing thought or a fleeting intention. It is a deep inner commitment to change the direction of your mind, to take back control from fear, doubt, and limitation. Most people wait for the perfect moment to begin changing their lives. They wait for inspiration, for confidence, for external circumstances to shift. But the truth is, transformation doesn't begin when everything is perfect. It begins when you decide that enough is enough, when you choose to stop being a prisoner of your own mind and start becoming the master of it. This decision is the turning point. It marks the moment you draw a line between the old version of yourself and the new one you are ready to become. You no longer allow your thoughts to drift aimlessly. You no longer give power to those beliefs that make you feel small, undeserving, or incapable. Instead, you stand in the truth that you can choose your thoughts, and in doing so, you can choose your future. It doesn't require permission from anyone. It doesn't require proof that you're ready. All it requires is the willingness to begin. Many people underestimate the power of a decision. They think change must come from some external breakthrough or life-altering event. But in reality, the most powerful transformations start in silence, within the mind of someone who simply decides, "I will no longer think this way." That single declaration holds immense power. It sets off a chain reaction that begins to shift your focus, your energy, and your behavior. Even before you see results, even before others notice anything different, something changes internally. The seed of transformation is planted, and from that moment on, you are no longer the same. This decision is not a one-time event. It is a commitment you must renew every day, especially in the beginning, because the old thought patterns will try to return. The doubts, fears, and self-criticisms will test your resolve, but each time you reaffirm your decision, each time you choose to think differently, you grow stronger. You build mental discipline. You begin to train your mind to serve you rather than sabotage you. This is the essence of transformation, the ongoing, deliberate choice to think thoughts that empower you instead of those that defeat you. What matters most is that you take responsibility for your mind, that you stop blaming the past, your upbringing, your circumstances, or other people for your inner world. Because while you cannot control everything that happens to you, you can always control how you think about it. That is your power, that is your freedom, and it begins the moment you decide to no longer be a victim of your thoughts, but instead become the creator of them. This decision is an act of courage. It is a quiet rebellion against the negativity that has taken root. It is a declaration that you are worthy of a different life, one defined not by fear, but by purpose, clarity, and strength. From this decision, your journey begins. You may not know every step ahead. You may not have all the answers, but with this decision, you are no longer standing still. You are moving forward, and that momentum, however small, has the power to change everything. The mind, like a muscle, can be trained. And just like a weak body can be strengthened through consistent exercise, a mind burdened by negative thoughts can be reshaped through intentional practice. The power to rewire your thinking lies in repetition, choosing again and again to reject thoughts that drain your energy and embrace those that elevate your spirit. Positive thinking is not a shallow practice of pretending everything is fine. It is a discipline, a choice, a mental shift that begins with awareness and grows with consistency. At first, it may feel unnatural. Your mind may resist because it has grown comfortable with negativity. It has rehearsed the same thoughts of fear, doubt, and limitation for so long that they have become familiar companions. But familiarity does not mean truth. Just because a thought has visited your mind 1,000 times doesn't mean it deserves to stay. You must begin to observe your thoughts. Not judge them, not suppress them, but become aware of them. This awareness is your first tool of transformation. It allows you to catch negativity in the moment, to recognize it as a choice, not a command. When you catch a negative thought, replace it. Speak back to it. If your mind says, "I'm not good enough," respond with, "I am growing stronger every day." If it whispers, "This is impossible," counter with, "I am capable and I will find a way." These replacements may feel weak at first, even unconvincing, but over time they build momentum. Each time you choose a positive thought, you reinforce a new pathway in the brain. The more you walk that path, the clearer and stronger it becomes. What once felt foreign begins to feel familiar. What once felt fake begins to feel true. You are not trying to lie to yourself. You are trying to tell yourself a better truth, one that aligns with your potential instead of your fear, one that opens doors instead of closing them. You are taking back control of your internal dialogue. This is the essence of mental training, not to silence the mind, but to lead it, to direct it with clarity, purpose, and strength. And this kind of mental leadership must become a daily habit. Just as you eat every day to nourish your body, you must feed your mind daily with thoughts that fuel your growth. It is also helpful to create an environment that supports your mental shift. Surround yourself with books, voices, and messages that uplift you. Write down affirmations, keep a journal of victories, and reflect on your progress. Speak to yourself with kindness. Be patient. This is not about perfection. It is about direction. Even one step forward in your thinking can change the course of your day. And when you change enough days, you change your life. Most importantly, understand that you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts, and that means you have the power to choose them. Negative thinking is not your identity. It is a habit, and habits can be broken. With each small effort, you begin to reprogram your mind, aligning it with your deepest values and highest aspirations. You begin to feel stronger, clearer, and more in control. And as your mind changes, your world changes with it, not because the outside shifted, but because your perception did. That is the true power of positive thinking, the ability to change everything from within. One of the greatest discoveries you will ever make is realizing that you are not a passive observer in your mind. You are the creator of it. Your thoughts are not just random visitors, they are responses you have the power to shape. With focused intention, you can begin to create a new mental blueprint, one that reflects your goals, your vision, and your inner strength. This process is not about ignoring reality or pretending that problems don't exist. It's about choosing which thoughts you will allow to define your response to life. When you realize this, you move from being at the mercy of circumstances to becoming the architect of your own destiny. Every thought you think carries energy. It either builds or destroys, lifts or drags you down. By becoming intentional about the thoughts you allow, you begin to design your inner world with precision. Just like an architect draws blueprints before building a home, you too must decide what kind of mental structure you want to live in. Do you want to inhabit a mind full of fear, doubt, and confusion? Or will you build one filled with clarity, confidence, and courage? The answer lies in your daily mental choices, repeated again and again until they form the walls of your inner world. You start creating this new blueprint by identifying the kind of life you want to live. What values matter most to you? What kind of mindset does your best self operate from? Begin to craft thoughts that match that identity. Speak as if you already possess that strength. Think as if you already embody that courage. This isn't delusion, it's alignment. It's training your brain to move in the direction of your purpose rather than being pulled back by your fears. When your thoughts match your goals, your actions follow. Your energy shifts. Your life begins to change in ways both small and profound. It's important to remember that this mental blueprint is not just made once and forgotten. It is updated daily. You must return to it again and again, reinforcing it with your words, your focus, and your self-talk. Each time a negative thought arises, you can say, "That's not part of the design I'm building." You redirect, you refocus. This is the quiet work that few see, but that ultimately shapes everything others will see in your life. Behind every breakthrough is a series of silent mental decisions that no one claps for, but they matter more than you know. This new mental blueprint becomes a map for how you engage with life. Challenges no longer feel like permanent roadblocks. They become growth points. Mistakes become lessons, not judgments, and even when fear returns, you recognize it without surrendering to it. Your mind starts working for you, not against you. You begin to operate with clarity, guided by intention rather than chaos. This is when transformation truly begins to take root, not just as a hope, but as a lived reality. Remember, your thoughts create patterns, and those patterns become the foundation of your actions, your habits, and ultimately your results. If you want different outcomes in your life, you must first build different thoughts in your mind. This is the quiet revolution that happens internally. It doesn't make noise, but it creates powerful change. You are not here to be ruled by fear or trapped in the past. You are here to build something greater within yourself. And every time you choose a thought that aligns with your future instead of your past, you lay one more brick in the foundation of that greatness. Progress is never perfect. As you begin to change the way you think, you will encounter resistance. Negative thoughts don't vanish overnight. They push back, trying to reclaim the space they once controlled. Doubt may creep in, old fears may reappear. You may find yourself slipping into the very thought patterns you're working to escape. But this is not failure. It's part of the process. Growth is rarely linear. It is filled with moments of advancement and setbacks, clarity and confusion, strength and vulnerability. The key is to remain committed through all of it. Transformation doesn't require perfection. It only requires persistence. Every time you catch yourself thinking in an old, destructive pattern, you are being given a powerful opportunity. You are being shown where healing is still needed, where awareness must grow deeper. Instead of feeling ashamed or defeated, you can see these moments as checkpoints, reminders of the work still ahead, not as signs of weakness, but as markers of your journey. The path to mental freedom isn't about never falling back, it's about getting back up with a stronger, more conscious choice each time. Your resilience grows not by avoiding hardship, but by learning how to move through it without losing sight of who you are becoming. It's easy to be discouraged when progress feels slow. In a world that celebrates instant results, deep inner change can feel invisible. But the truth is, every time you choose a better thought, even once, you are shifting your mind in a new direction. That single choice breaks the cycle. That moment of awareness plants a seed, and if you continue, even imperfectly, that seed will grow. Your consistency, not your perfection, is what creates lasting change. Don't measure your progress by the number of negative thoughts you still have. Measure it by how often you are able to notice them, challenge them, and replace them. The real victory is not in never struggling, but in learning to struggle differently. Instead of drowning in negativity, you begin to observe it. Instead of believing every fearful thought, you begin to question it. Instead of giving up when things feel difficult, you remind yourself why you started. This mindset shift is powerful. It transforms pain into purpose. It turns obstacles into training grounds for your mind. Every difficult moment becomes a step forward, because now you are meeting it with a different level of awareness and intention. You must be patient with yourself. You are undoing years, maybe even decades, of mental conditioning. This takes time, but it also takes belief. Belief that change is possible, belief that you are worth the effort, and belief that your mind can become your greatest ally. Some days will be harder than others, but even on your worst days, progress is possible. Even in the middle of a breakdown, you are building strength. because you are no longer accepting those thoughts as truth. You are fighting back, and that alone is a victory. Persistence is the secret, not motivation, not excitement, just showing up again and again, even when it's hard, even when nothing seems to be changing on the surface. Because underneath everything is shifting, your mind is learning, your inner voice is evolving, your old patterns are slowly losing power, and what's replacing them is something far stronger, the steady, quiet strength of a mind that refuses to surrender to fear, a mind that is learning to rise, no matter how many times it falls. As your mind begins to shift, something remarkable happens. You start to see life differently. What once felt like obstacles now appear as opportunities. What once triggered fear now invites courage. The lens through which you experience the world is no longer clouded by negativity, and in its place emerges a clarity that empowers you. This is not about denying reality, it's about changing your relationship with it, because life will still bring challenges, it will still present uncertainty and hardship. But now you are approaching those moments from a different mental state, one rooted in strength, not fear, in faith, not doubt. This change in perspective is not accidental. It is the direct result of the work you've done within. The mental battles you've fought, the moments where you chose discipline over comfort, growth over despair, awareness over reaction, those choices have rewired your perception, and perception is everything. Two people can face the same situation, yet experience it entirely differently. One sees defeat, the other sees development. One sees the end, the other sees a new beginning. The difference isn't in the event, it's in the mind of the person experiencing it. And your mind is now becoming one that sees possibility, even in pain. You begin to realize that your power has never come from external circumstances. It was never in the job, the money, the approval, or the outcome. Your power has always been in your ability to choose how you respond. That is the ultimate freedom, the freedom to choose your focus, your meaning, and your direction. And the more you reclaim that power, the more unshakable you become. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. Not because storms disappear, but because you've built shelter within your mind. In this state, you no longer react from emotion alone. You respond with intention. You no longer drown in self-doubt. You rise with self-belief. Even when negative thoughts visit you, and they will, you recognize them for what they are, echoes of the old you, not truths about who you are now. And you send them away with calm authority. You are no longer their captive. You are their observer, their teacher, their replacer. This is what inner freedom looks like. It's not the absence of negativity. It's the refusal to be ruled by it. And with this shift, your energy changes, people notice it, you carry yourself differently, you speak with more conviction, listen with more presence, walk with more clarity. You no longer need to convince others of your worth. You already know it. You no longer chase approval. You stand rooted in self-respect, because your mind has found balance, and in that balance, your life begins to reflect your inner world. What you attract, how you react, what you tolerate, what you pursue, all of it begins to align with your higher self. This is not a one-time transformation. It is a way of living, a mindset that must be nurtured daily. But once you experience this shift, you'll never go back to who you used to be, because now you've tasted freedom, not the kind given by others, but the kind you created within yourself. And that freedom is the foundation for everything you want to build, everything you want to become. It starts in the mind, and it grows stronger every time you choose to think differently, speak differently, and live differently, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Real change is not loud. It doesn't always announce itself with fireworks or applause. Sometimes the most profound shifts happen in silence, within the quiet moments when no one else is watching. It's in those moments when you choose to speak differently to yourself, when you hold your ground against the flood of self-doubt, when you reach for a thought that empowers rather than weakens you. These invisible victories may seem small, but they are not. They are the very foundation of your transformation, and every time you make that choice, even when it feels hard, you reinforce a new identity, one built not on fear, but on personal power. As this inner strength grows, you begin to notice a new sense of stability within yourself. You are no longer as reactive to the chaos around you. You no longer need to control everything because you've learned how to control what matters most, your inner world. When your mind is calm, focused, and grounded, the noise of the outside world loses its grip on you. You stop being thrown around by other people's opinions, circumstances, or unexpected changes. Instead, you remain steady. You become the one who chooses how to respond, the one who holds the power rather than giving it away. This power is quiet, but it is undeniable. It's the power of knowing who you are, and more importantly, who you're no longer willing to be. You no longer shrink yourself to fit into old patterns. You no longer dim your light to make others comfortable. You've outgrown that version of you. Now you stand taller, not in arrogance, but in awareness. You understand that your thoughts shape your emotions shape your actions, and your actions shape your future. This knowledge gives you clarity, and clarity gives you strength, and yet you remain humble in this growth, because you understand that mastering your mind is not a destination, it's a lifelong journey. There will still be days when the old thoughts knock on your door. There will still be moments when fear whispers in your ear, but now you know how to face it. You don't run. You don't believe every anxious thought that arises. You meet it with calm, with confidence, with the awareness that you've done this before and you can do it again. This is what real resilience looks like. Calm, consistent strength built from within. What once felt impossible now feels inevitable. Because you've seen yourself endure, struggle, and grow. You've witnessed the power of your own mind. You've realized that the limits you once believed in were illusions, built by fear, maintained by habit, and shattered by awareness. You've chosen to no longer participate in your own suffering, and that choice has changed everything. You are not who you were. You are not even close, and the best part is, you're just getting started. There is more ahead, more growth, more breakthroughs, more strength to discover, but now you're not afraid of the path. You welcome it, because you know that whatever it brings, you will face it with a mind that is awake, focused, and free. You are no longer chasing peace, you are creating it. No longer waiting for change, you are becoming it. And this inner transformation, this quiet revolution, is the force that will carry you into a life you once only dreamed was possible. When your mind reaches this level of clarity, you begin to recognize how much of your past was shaped by unconscious beliefs, patterns you absorbed without question, narratives you accepted without challenge. And now, with awakened awareness, you can finally break free. You no longer follow the path others told you to walk. You no longer allow fear to narrate your story. Instead, you step into authorship. You begin writing your own future with deliberate intention, guided not by the noise of the world, but by the quiet truth within you. And that shift from unconscious living to conscious creating is what changes everything. You become the observer and the sculptor of your inner world. Every thought, every reaction, every moment of resistance is no longer just something to endure. It becomes a mirror, showing you what still needs to be released, what still needs to be transformed. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" That single question is powerful. It turns pain into wisdom. It turns confusion into clarity. It turns life from something that happens to you into something that unfolds for you. This change in perspective is subtle, but it empowers you beyond measure, and with this new awareness, something sacred emerges, self-trust. You begin to trust your own voice. You begin to trust your own decisions. You no longer doubt your path simply because others cannot see it. You no longer silence yourself to meet someone else's expectations. That version of you is gone. In its place stands a person who knows that the most important approval is your own. You stop waiting for permission. You stop apologizing for evolving, because you know that growth is not selfish. It's essential, and when you rise, you create space for others to rise too. This self-trust becomes your compass. Even when life becomes uncertain, even when the future is unclear, you no longer feel lost, because you've built a foundation inside that cannot be shaken. You've learned that control doesn't come from forcing outcomes, it comes from managing your inner state. Peace is no longer dependent on circumstances, it's rooted in your mindset, and because of this, you navigate life with a calm strength. You may still feel fear, but you move forward anyway. You may still face doubt, but you don't let it define you. That is the power of a disciplined, awakened mind. People may not understand this version of you. They may question your silence, your detachment from drama, your refusal to engage in negativity, but that no longer concerns you. You don't need to explain growth to those who choose comfort over transformation. You are not here to convince anyone. You are here to become everything you were meant to be, and that journey, though personal, radiates outward. Others will feel your energy shift. They will witness your quiet strength, and while some may not understand it, others will be inspired by it, because nothing speaks louder than a mind that has found peace in its own power. This is the point where you no longer chase life. You align with it. You no longer force things. You allow them, because you understand that true power isn't loud. It's not controlling, it's not reactive. True power is presence. It's the stillness of a mind that knows its worth. It's the clarity of a heart that no longer doubts itself. And once you've tasted that, you won't settle for anything less, because you've fought for this state. You've earned it, and now you protect it. Not with walls, but with wisdom. Not with fear, but with awareness. This is your strength now, and it is unshakable. There comes a moment in every journey where you pause, not to stop, but to reflect, to look back and truly understand the distance you've covered, not in miles, but in mindset. You begin to realize that the person you are today is no longer defined by the pain you once carried, the doubts that once clouded you, or the fears that once ruled your every move. You see how far you've come, not just because your circumstances have changed, but because you have changed, your thinking has evolved, your inner voice has become your guide, not your enemy. You are no longer surviving your thoughts, you are shaping them. And in that realization you experience something rare, inner peace, not the kind that depends on perfect conditions or the absence of challenge, but the kind that remains even when life is chaotic. A peace that comes from knowing you can handle anything, because your mind is no longer your battlefield. It is your home, you've done the work, you've shown up for yourself, you've faced the shadows, and now, in this moment, you know what real freedom feels like. Not freedom from problems, but freedom from the mental chains that once held you back. You are no longer the same person who began this journey. That version of you, broken, uncertain, overwhelmed, was not weak. That version of you was the seed, the beginning, the foundation, and without that struggle, this growth would never have bloomed. You don't need to hate your past to honor your progress. You can bless it. You can look back on every dark moment and say, that was my training, that was my awakening. And with that shift in perspective, your past becomes your power, your pain becomes your proof. And your healing becomes your testimony that change is not only possible, it is inevitable when you commit to it. Now you walk with clarity, you speak with conviction, you think with purpose, and even when the world around you doesn't reflect your inner evolution, you don't fall back. Because you are no longer seeking validation, you are walking in self-possession. You are no longer chasing success to feel worthy. You know you are worthy, and success becomes an extension of that truth. You move differently. You live intentionally. You set boundaries not from fear, but from love, for yourself, for your peace, for your path. and that discipline becomes your new normal. This isn't the end. This is a beginning, a new chapter written by a new mind. The habits you choose, the thoughts you nurture, the energy you protect, all of it shapes the life that lies ahead. You don't need to predict the future. You only need to continue becoming the person who is prepared to meet it, because when you master your mind, you no longer fear what's coming, you welcome it, you trust yourself to grow through it. You believe that no matter what happens, you will rise, not because life is easy, but because you are unbreakable. You've proven to yourself that transformation is real. You've broken free from the grip of negative thoughts. You've taken back your power, and now it's yours to protect, to expand, and to live with every single day. This isn't motivation. This is truth. This is strength. This is your new identity, not given to you by the world, but discovered within you. And from this moment forward, everything changes, not because the world is different, but because you are, and that is more than enough.